What does a Stanley Cup win do for Connor McDavid's legacy, and does a championship vault Paul Maurice into the coaching elite? Hey everyone, welcome into Off the Post. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Sports columnist Steve Simmons and Canucks reporter for the Vancouver Sun and the province, Patrick Johnston. And guys, earlier in the week, we broke down the series on the ice, but now it's time to get into the juicy stuff that, of course, is the narratives. And all eyes are on Connor McDavid in his first Stanley Cup final. And as good as he's been during the regular season, I should say, and statistically in the postseason, Steve, he's still searching for that first cup ring. And if he's able to get that championship, how do you think he'll be compared to some of the other superstars with maybe one or two rings, like an Alex Ovechkin, Nathan McKinnon, or even a Steven Stamkos?
Well, I think, frankly, he's going to pass all those guys, whether he wins or doesn't win. Just how he plays and what he does and how many scoring titles he's going to win and how many MVPs he's going to win and all that along the way. So, yeah, the one thing about, we get caught up in, does a guy have a cup? Does a guy have 2 cups? Does a guy have 3 cups? It's not an individual award, the Stanley Cup. It's a team award. If you don't have the right team, you can be Marcel Dion your entire life and wind up in the wrong place. And don't tell me he wasn't a great player, but he didn't come close to ever winning one because he was never on a team good enough to win one. Now, McDavid's on a team now that can win one. And maybe win 2, maybe win 3. We don't know. Whatever his legacy is going to be, he's got, 950 points in whatever it is in 9 seasons. He's got ridiculous numbers. It's 1.5 points a game in the playoffs, his career. That's a ridiculous number. Or 1.7, I think it might be. But the numbers are insane. And so I think Connor McDavid today, visually, throw the numbers out for a minute, visually is one of the greatest hockey players I've ever seen. Statistically is one of the greatest hockey players I've ever seen. And I think he's right there to move into what I call hockey's Mount Rushmore. You've got Gretzky, Orr, and Lemieux by themselves. Now you can argue number 4, is it Gordie Howe? Is it Sidney Crosby? Is it McDavid? I'm going to plunk McDavid in there, even if they win or don't win the cup this time, because eventually he's going to win 1 or 2.
As silly as the discussion may be, and Steve's totally right, it is a team award. We still somehow love to talk about, did you do it? Even if it's harder than ever now, right? You think back, Gretzky, Lemieux, all these guys, Howe, Orr, it's weird to say easier to win the cup, but there were just fewer teams in the playoff, or fewer teams missing the playoffs. You were in, and your teams, those teams were dominant. Like the chances every year were higher, and it's so hard to win the cup now. That said, if he's able to do it this year, it just ends that discussion forever. He's done it, right? He will be properly in that discussion that you've laid out there, Steve. He is absolutely already one of the greats of all time, and winning that cup's going to end that discussion.
And I think you look at whatever sport it is, is it Jim Brown or Gale Sayers or Walter Payton in football? Is it Brady? Is it Mahomes? He's one of those guys. He's in that really short bunch of special guys that have done things that we've never seen before. And let's just make a quick Edmonton comparison. When Wayne Gretzky won his 4 Stanley Cups in Edmonton, I need a calculator to count how many Hall of Fame players there were on that team. But they had a Hall of Fame guy named Grant Fuhr in goal, and they had Paul Coffey on defense, and they had Kevin Lowe, who somehow miraculously got in the Hall of Fame years later, and they had Anderson and Messier and Curry. These are all legitimate, absolute deserving Hall of Famers. When you're looking at the Edmonton Oilers 10 years from now, it's Leon Draisaitl and it's McDavid, and we don't know what Evan Bouchard is going to be, but nobody else is going to the Hall of Fame. There's nobody else on that team that you're saying that guy's set up for that. So when you win 4 in a row, like the Islanders did, Potvin, Smith, Trottier, Bossy, Gillies, Tonelli, you can go down the list. There's a lot of great players on those teams. Teams, because of salary cap, we don't see teams like that anymore, obviously. But, that puts people like McDavid and anyone else you want to put in that elite category in a more difficult situation or circumstance, because they don't have the kind of group you could put around players back in the day.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Just the level of talent for some of those previous teams from back in the day. On the Panthers side of things, Patrick, this will be the third time that Paul Maurice has coached in a Cup final, but despite being fourth all-time in regular season coaching wins, he's still looking for championship number one. If Maurice can win a ring, how do you think he is viewed among the coaching ranks?
Let's just sit back for a moment and try to understand Paul Maurice's career, whether he wins the Stanley Cup or not. Since 1995-96, when Jimmy Rutherford, now president of the Canucks, put Maurice behind the Hartford bench, he has missed 2 seasons in the NHL as a coach. He missed the 05-06 season when he coached the Marlies. Then he got promoted to be Leafs head coach the next year. And he missed 2015-2013 when Jimmy Rutherford got rid of him from Carolina in 2011-2012. Other than that, he has been coaching as a head coach in the NHL. It's a remarkable career. It's a fascinating career. And, since he got to Winnipeg, it seems like he's figured it out. Obviously had a strong lineup with the Jets, got them to the third round of the playoffs in 2018. But this team is, without a doubt, the best teams he ever coached. That team he took to the finals in 2002 in Carolina, hard work and plucky team, but punching above their weight realistically. Yeah, exactly. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And he's been such a smart hire. It was a ballsy move to replace Andrew Brunette, who obviously stepped into a difficult circumstance and did amazingly well. And we've seen him do very well. And we can see why he's going to be a long-time initial coach. But Maurice was to change your coach from the outside and bring in a guy, last year, and then he guided them to the finals, and now they're back in the final. It's a remarkable performance, and will be an absolutely amazing result for him.
If there's a Hall of Fame for press conferences, Paul Maurice is going. He's first ballot. If there's a Hall of Fame for coaches, and there is, not enough of them get in, frankly, but there is a place that can go in as a builder. I don't know if he goes in. And I think he's one of these guys who he's been around a long time, which means he has the fourth most wins, as Patrick pointed out. You forgot to mention he has the most losses. And the second most games ever coached, which by itself is a crazy number. I mean, yeah. So he's had a fantastic career without anyone ever saying that he's Scotty Bowman or he's Bob Johnston or he's Al Arbor or he's one of those legendary figures. Even Joel Quenneville, I'm going to put it in a different level. I don't think Paul Maurice needs a legacy. His legacy is I lasted in a job that's really hard to last in. He's lasted a whole lot of years.
Right. And there's a reason why. You're right. It seems right. A lot of wins, a lot of losses. Since he joined Winnipeg, the things have been better. But, for the most part, kind of, his teams are good, never spectacular, did the job, kept people happy, got hired twice by Jimmy Rutherford. But has figured out at the end of his career, there's so much about a coach that can hurt a team. There's a lot of coaches can hurt teams more than they can help teams. And he clearly has figured out that fine line of just getting enough right. And now he's stepped back and he's got this incredible team and he's guided them just right. And they've made the Stanley Cup final 2 times in a row. And maybe he's going to win it this time.
And this is almost, I wouldn't call what the Florida Panthers do as art, but under the sort of definition of how they play, it's kind of hockey art. It's mean stuff. And you don't ever think of Paul Maurice being that style of guy. But the Winnipeg Jets, when he coached them, were among the most penalized teams in the NHL as well. And the Panthers this year were the most penalized team. And I think what happens is Paul plays the I'm a great guy in the press conference role. And then I think in the dressing room, he's a different coach. And he's a different coach when he has leadership like Matthew Tkachuk, like Sasha Barkov, like Sam Bennett. When you have those kind of players, boy, does that make you a better coach.
Yeah, well, I think we all remember the passionate speech that he gave his Panthers last year in Toronto, that a lot of people point at as turning their season around a year ago, and they've just been on this incredible trajectory since. We'll see how things go in game number one. It should be an exciting series that gets started on Saturday. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. For Steve Simmons and Patrick Johnston, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.